Please leave a message after the.
But I think it was the Candace Owens was, I presume, the main point there.
Yeah.
Right?
Previously, we've spoken about Prague University. I don't remember what episode it was. It wasn't too long ago because I was talking about they make these short. Prague University is a YouTube channel.
Right.
They're not a real university, by the way. they're a YouTube channel that make these short clips. They're conservative channel where they break down their opinions and thoughts on their philosophies on life in these really short, calm tidbits that I found very interesting. Even T-Kun, I remember she even shared a video with us about them once. But Candace Owens has been, I did know she worked with them, but they've really been bankrolled her and have led her front and center. In fact, Prague University created a podcast on their channel, her podcast on their channel now. And again, Candace Owens, in terms of as a person, a political figure, or someone of note, didn't really excel to fame until 2 weeks ago when Dave Chappelle took his shots. And whenever a well-known comedian talks about someone in any light, you really propel them to the front. And she was rising in pop culture anyway, in the zeitgeist of awareness. But after what Dave Chappelle said, he elevated her to the mainstream completely. And in case you don't know her, you're about to get a very huge education, because some people find Candace Owens to be a very dangerous person because she's very intellectual and puts her points together. But some people think she's evil, straight up, especially people in the black community. And if you don't know why, I'm going to take you on this journey. We're going to find out why. I think she's a very interesting person. And I don't just want to slant her because I don't agree with a lot of her points. But in a weird way, I do respect what she's doing, even though I think she's fake in a way. But anyway, if you don't know how this all started, let me guide you guys. I got a clip. You're going to hear Dave Chappelle had a... what was the special called? It's on YouTube. It's for free.
Is it 846?
846. Yeah, and that's in reference to how long. Yeah, the time the police officer had his neck. Ex-police officer had his neck, knee on George Floyd's neck. So this is basically going to set the scene on YouTube. Search this video. It's called Candace Owens versus Dave Chappelle, and this will paint the picture of how she really rolls in recent weeks.
Candace Owens, that rotten bitch. She's the worst. I can't think of a worse way to make money. She's the most articulate idiot I've ever seen in my fucking life. She's so articulate, she can tell you how fucking stupid she is precisely. And she told George Floyd's rap record on the internet, oh, he was this, he did that, and he's a drug addict, and he's not a hero. And why does the black community make him a hero? Why do you choose him as a hero? We didn't choose him, you did. They killed him, and that wasn't right, so he's the guy. I think Candace Owens tried to convince white America, don't worry about it, he's a criminal anyway. I don't give a fuck what this nigga did. I don't care what this nigga did. I don't care if he personally kicked Candace Owens in her stinky pussy. I don't know if it stinks, but I imagine it does.
A couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on Facebook, which got a lot of traction, over 100 million views in just 1 week, and was shared across the world's many different languages, in which I discussed the Black Lives Matter movement and why I was disagreeing with the mainstream narrative, particularly the one that was being produced surrounding the George Floyd killing. Well-known person who reacted was, of course, comedian Dave Chappelle. He did a stand-up, said some things that I cannot repeat for my audiences, said he wanted to assault me in my lady parts because he felt that I was diminishing the death of George Floyd by bringing up his record. In fact, he thought that the streets, which he described as alive, were justified in their reactions.
This is the streets talking for themselves. They don't need me right now. And these niggas say, why isn't David Chappelle saying anything? Because David Chappelle understands what the fuck he is seeing. And these streets will speak for themselves whether I'm alive or dead. I trust you guys. Let's enjoy your riots. They're not really even riots. Have you noticed that?
He was basically offering an excuse for the rioting and the looting that we're seeing. He's saying the streets are finally responding in the way that they need to respond. Well, let's just look at Black history to see if the streets responding and the streets being alive with rioting and looting in their own communities has ever served us. Where have we seen this before in Black America? Talk about the mid-1960s, the riots in Chicago, the riots in Detroit, where Black Americans upset about race issues, burned down their own neighborhoods and rioted. And what was the conclusion of that? Well, the conclusion, of course, was that naturally, the once flourishing cities, the automobile industries that were flourishing in Detroit and Chicago, they picked up, they packed up, and they left. And they depressed those neighborhoods. You want to know why Detroit looks the way that it does today? Why Chicago looks the way that it does today? Why Black Americans struggle in those inner city communities today? Well, it's because they chased out the business owners who said, there's no point for us to be here if this is how our businesses are going to be treated. They took the jobs with them. They took the economy with them. And what we see today is the consequence of that.
Okay, so I got a lot more clips that we'll get into.
Massive cunt. Like, I just have to say that, you know, that last point there. We'll go back to it. Sorry, Jesse.
Of course, no, not at all.
Wow, that last one that she mentioned there was complete and utter fucking bullshit. I've researched it and I've studied that stuff, and it wasn't because of that.
This is why she's a problem, man, because she just goes saying this stuff unchecked. You know, people say she says it and people swallow it up. Like, it's just But anyway, yeah, Jesse.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I got a lot of clips for Candace Owens, and believe me, by the end, there's a lot of things people don't know about her, because her beginnings is even more interesting than who she is now, because she's flipped sides, and it's an interesting story. But she, Dave Chappelle obviously put her on blast, said all that. Then everyone started to investigate her. You know, Preg University obviously Preg University is right wing anyway, but now they found a Black person who's very articulate, so seemingly smart, well put together, who isn't afraid of anyone, who believe me, I got clips of her with some surprising people. One of them really made me laugh. She had a podcast with Russell Brand. That shit's funny, which I'll play a clip of as well. But
yeah, she was. She was quite. She rose to prominence more with Kanye West as well.
Yes,
and that famous TMZ rant. And thank God that producer, I think, or an editor there, I don't know his exact role, but when he just came back hard at Kanye and tacitly Candace Owens, that was such a much needed, checking. That was, just saying that.
Van Lathan?
I think so. It's Van something.
Yeah.
Van something.
Van Lathan, yeah. He's got a podcast called the Red Pill Podcast. Really good podcast. You guys should check out as well.
Yeah.
Very good podcast. So,
yeah. So, yeah, she's, Dave Chappelle. I mean, she was somewhat on the map, but Dave Chappelle definitely put her on the map after his recent special.
Yeah. It did 23, maybe even more. Last time I checked that video, 23 million views.
I hated that whole thing, because she's like, for me, like a Black version of Katie Hopkins, completely disingenuous.
Ooh, I'm not sure if I agree with that.
I know, honestly, because she courts it. I mean, she basically has this philosophy, doesn't deviate at all, and then searches statistics and data to support that, when really, with any scientific mind believes, the evidence and facts lead to a conclusion, not the other way around. And that's why I find that she grabs this information, and then she did that,
uses it to defend her points.
Exactly, and she just sensationalized it, whilst everyone was going this one direction, knowing everyone has their humanity, and they felt the pain, the visible pain of George Floyd's death. It was a punch to the soul. Yeah, and then she comes along and she goes completely against the grain, and then gets that type of traction there, and you could see that whole kind of self-patting on the back, but translated into multiple languages. I think within just 1 week, over 100 million views. But besides that, and then I'm just like, oh, fuck off. Yeah.
So one thing I like about Candace Owens, I like anyone with any kind of divergent opinion that doesn't mind putting themselves in a place where they can be argued against. And, hate or love it, I know a lot of people on the right that will just, like on Fox News, that will just sit on their box, say their piece, and not interact with other intelligent people to argue. So Candace Owens, on her recent podcast, she reached out to someone on the opposite side of her thinking to have an open discussion, which I shared with you guys, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to play clips, just 1 or 2 clips from that. And then I know Stanley's got a lot to say about this. I know you do, Stanley. So I'm going to let you interject in a minute about this as well. But check out, I think this is a really good podcast to hear 2 people from different sides. Again, you might not agree with either of them, by the way. But I always appreciate these kind of conversations, especially when they're civil. Because there's instances where they're not. Even with Candace Owens, she's been in instances where, you know, they've tried to bill her off, even attack her, stuff like that. But that's obviously going to happen with someone so polarizing. Anyway, I'm going to play you the first little clip of her podcast with, I don't want to get his name wrong. You know it is.
Mark Lamont Hill, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So she had a podcast with him on YouTube. I think it's got 1 million views right now. The comment section is very interesting. But let me play the introduction to it, and then I'll stop it, and then we'll talk about it a bit as well, because I know Jodie and Stanley really want to get into this.
I'm very excited that one person I instantly messaged on Twitter, and he said, yes, let's do it. Come on, I'll come right on the show. Mark Lamont Hill. Mark Lamont is a professor, a tenured professor at Temple University. He teaches media studies. Mark Lamont Hill, welcome to the Candace Owens Show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited.
This is going to be
hear.
interesting.
It is. And I think it's good because people need to realize you can have a discussion with somebody that disagrees with you.
Yeah.
And I actually, one person I forgot to mention that disagrees with me, but we have so much love between each other, is Killer Mike. I think he's one of the greatest leaders in the Black community. We are totally on different pages. He was pro-Bernie and I'm pro-Trump, but he cares and he knows that I care, and we read a lot of the same books and we have slight disagreements, but ones that are, I think, important to talk about publicly.
I'm going to stop there for now. I've got the Killer Mike clip as well, because I think it's very important people hear the Killer Mike discussion. That went viral.
Is that the panel with T.I.?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I got a clip of that as well. Before that, I want you two to talk about this, because I know you guys are very opinion. You watched the whole podcast that Candace Owens had with him, the guest that just spoke. Why can't I get this guy's name out of my head?
Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, just call him Mark.
That kind of with Mark.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the whole conversation?
I'll let you go, Stan.
Man, I hate these kind of things, right? Because for me personally, I actually think he did a good job. And if you actually listen to the interview or watch it, you'll see that there's a number of times where she actually comes across and says, I'll give you that, or I actually agree with you on that. Whereas he doesn't say that to her that many times. So on that when you look at it that way, you know, you could say that he did better, but a lot of people will see it as like, she, you know, set him up a number of times. He stuttered a bit a number of times. Yeah. So people will be like, oh, she crushed him. But I don't feel that it was that way at all. And he is a very cordial person. I think with her, she definitely picks the people she speaks to or debates intentionally. Because Mark is a very cordial person who's not going to get into like a heated debate. So, but yeah, I still think he did well anyway. But other people would crush her. And I know that there's at least 1 or 2 people that I know of that she has refused to debate. So it's like,
sure.
You know,
And I'm going to play the killer. To your point, I'm going to play the Killer Mike one because he's one of those people that doesn't take shit from her at all. And kind of drowns her out with great facts. But sorry, Jodie, you were going to say?
No, I enjoyed it. I saw it. I think you know, I've seen a lot of YouTube clips where they say, "Watch Candace Owens destroy lefty liberal." You know, that usual.
They love that adjective, destroy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, watch annihilate, destroy. You know, SJW. You know, like and you know, I think the only thing that I felt that he was he actually made so many good points, and because she had sound bites and he unpacked them, and he just basically and he was just basically because she said she had so many points in one few sentences or whatever, so he was just trying to unpack each one, deconstruct it, explain it, which I really enjoyed. And it's just like she's very in the day of the YouTube, she's her information is so digestible. It's a very quick thing just to digest and say, oh yeah, that's, you know, she's making a good point. But, you know, with a long conversation, you see her struggle. She struggled with Joe Rogan when they just had a normal conversation. If you see her conversation with when she talks about, exactly. When she talks about climate change, she goes, yeah, I just don't believe it. And then he goes, well, what do you have to back that up?
He made her look really silly. Yeah.
He made her look, you know, so silly because there was a long, you know, conversation where you can unpack this type of stuff and then you can be found out, you know. But the only thing that I found that he struggled with was the whole kind of gender politics about can a man get pregnant? Yes, a man can get pregnant. And then I knew what he was doing. He was differentiating between sex and gender and the social, you know, constructs of that. But
she kept on trying to own him.
YouTube ain't friendly in that way. YouTube was just like, are you saying a man can have a baby? And he says,
she kept on trying to break him down logically. She kept on trying to break down his logic like he was a fool. You know, I completely hear that.
She was definitely trying to box him in. And, you know, he wasn't doing that. But with that, that could be, you know, viewed as, look, this weepy lefty liberal, you know, social justice warrior who's just, you know, a bit of a dick, you know, doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah,
let me play a clip from the podcast so people can hear it. People who might not want to hear it because it's an hour and it's a long podcast, which is good. It was meaty, and I completely right there with Jolie. The way he unpacked everything she tried to put forward to him and dismantled it, I thought was phenomenal. And actually, I got my sister to watch it, and she was like, she thought he was way too passive, and I liked that because I don't think, again, the Killer McAtee thing is the other side of it. But in this conversation, I think his calm approach to unpack everything she was bringing was phenomenal. And like you said, Stanley, I know they were, he got owned, he was stuttering, he's a fool. And, you know, like you said, Jodie, he isn't even logical and all that trans stuff doesn't make any sense. He doesn't even understand what he's saying. Whatever. I love someone who can calmly think, process, and break down what she said. And this is a good example of that. Let me play a clip.
People that are protesting out today are not protesting because they believe that police officers are using excessive force.
Oh, they are, though.
The whole mainstream narrative, when they're having people on and talk on CNN and Black Lives Matter, their entire platform is about Black men dying unarmed at the hands of police officers. It was founded upon that concept. So I hate the fact that we're now shifting and pretending it's about something else, and we're widening the net, and we're making it about excessive force studies that nobody is talking about on CNN. Everybody is talking specifically about the idea that a Black man that is unarmed is likely to die at the hands of a police officer, and that's fraudulent. It's a lie.
So, one, Black Lives Matter actually wasn't founded on that. It was founded on Trayvon Martin's death, which had nothing to do with law enforcement. George Zimmerman wasn't a law enforcement officer. So from the beginning, we're talking about the kind of sense of unsafety, unprotectedness that Black people experience, not just from law enforcement, but really around you know, in every sector of our lives. Black people, not just men, but women and anyone else. That's the first thing. And I think Black Lives Matter has always talked about the daily violence, among other things. If you look at the Movement for Black Lives policy statement, they're talking about all kinds of stuff. It's always been
It's actually most about LGBT movement now.
It's a wide net, but it's an interesting.
But that's the problem. You create a wide net when you're full of bullshit, right? When you know you're bullshitting. It's like we're about trans rights and police. I mean, it's like maybe one sentence now that's even about police anything. They've really kind of dwindled it, and it's actually more about equality for trans something.
But Candace, I would think this would be up your alley, right? Not the trans part.
Definitely not up my alley.
But the idea that we're not singling out the police. We're saying that we should care about Black lives in all sectors. I mean, that's part of the argument you're making about Black on Black violence is one about saying we should care about Black life, not just when it's threatened by police, but everywhere.
I personally loved his approach. Again, I thought it was hilarious that people thought he got owned just because he didn't have the candor. He wasn't trying to talk over her like she was. But if you're comfortable in your disposition or your argument, why do you have to shout? You don't have to shout. You don't have to talk over someone. If someone's eager and they're just hostile, that doesn't mean the words that they're saying has any more value. Just because someone shouts doesn't mean they're more right. That's why I thought it was funny. All the people were like, oh, he got owned and he was stuttering. No. You know what I mean? He's not, it's kind of respectful. It's her podcast. He let her talk and he'll break apart her points. Now, to the other point, like I was saying before, let's go to before she had this podcast, she had Mark Lamont Hill on the podcast, she had the whole panel with T.I. and Killer Mike, someone she respects, where that was a completely different environment. And I know this is kind of what people want to see happen to Candace Owens a bit more. So have a listen to this.
This is T.I. and Candace Owens.
When you say make America great again, which period are we talking about? The period when women couldn't vote? The period when we were hanging from trees?
I'll answer.
Or like the crack era? Which period in America are you trying to make America like again?
I actually think that I would totally rock a hat right now that said make Black America great again. Because Black America, before,
we're talking about make America. That wasn't the question.
I am answering your question.
Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it? Tell me.
I think I'll answer your question.
I'm
ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was, I'm not saying it's okay, so why are you saying, oh?
Hey, man.
America was one of the first countries.
I want to like you so bad. Because you're so smart. I want to like you so much.
I can't answer the question.
I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
If I can't answer the question and you're just going to boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact, why are you booing a fact?
Because you're making light of...
No, I'm not.
You're making light of the enslavement of people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing you breeze over.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
You started with some bullshit.
So, Killer Mike came in and tried to provide some clarity. This is a longer clip, but I think there's some great things in here that will help people, I think.
What y'all are seeing right now are free people arguing over who got the best master. Oh yeah. So, we're going to go back to silent. Let's register this shit back down. We're going to lock this back down. So, I'll tell you when America was great. 7 years after the ending of the Civil War.
Exactly what
Hold, Candace, because you didn't give the comment, so you weren't prepared for that one. No, but that's not to jump on Candace, because, again, I'm disagreeing with my friend. 7 years after the end of Civil War, blacks within 7 to 15 years accumulated over 15 million acres of land. Hold on, before we get to clapping, because the niggas bought some shit. Black people were the only skilled labor in there. So if it was welding to be done, iron bending, cotton picking, it was black people. So instantly, your value became more. And Candace has a point. The point that she made about illegal immigration affecting you is that it's going to affect you at some point. Why? If the Kegel Chicken Factory is hiring illegal immigrants at an undercut on the rate, it affects the black people who live there who should be demanding $20 an hour because they're being undercut. So when they get wiped out, they have to hire blacks, pay them, and unionize. So she's right on that. But hold the fuck on, I'm not finished. You have to remember that people who look like you immigrate too. So before you widely say, fuck them all, remember, America is always going to have a slave class. And if illegal immigrants or legal immigrants will not be the lowest paid workers, those in prison will be, and that always ends up looking like one of their sons. So it circles back around. So that's why people who are black, who are from two different plantations, got to get the fuck away from massa.
So that was the other clip where you can see Candace Owens in a very different environment, not on one podcast. All these guys around there, pouncing on her. And on that clip on YouTube or whatever, Facebook was like, yeah, Candace Owens got owned, Killer Mike destroyed her. So I'm just like, listen, I like to hear points from people. Honestly, I'm not going to say one podcast is better than the other. I like both discussions because they're talking about facts. But I think for me personally, and this is the reason why I praise PragerU, their execution of how they deliver the information in a calm way is just much more easier to digest and sounds more reasonable. When the left are shouting and screaming and fucking just shut up and that's some bullshit. I mean, it just cut. We look like whether you're centrist or left or whatever, you look like you're crazy. Then you got these calm conservatives spouting facts that they cherry pick, yes, and use to defend specific arguments, yes, but they sound calm and like they're the rational ones. Then they get people like Candace Owens, who's the perfect package. Black, tick. Female, tick. Smart, articulate, tick, tick. And that doesn't mind going in these places around all these men and having these mad discussions, or even being threatened, because she is being threatened. People want her dead, especially people in the black community. But I do respect the fact that she's putting herself in these places, having these conversations. My problem, funny enough, for Candace Owens is that I think she's fake because of her past and her reasons for why she's doing what she's doing. I don't think, and I'll play some clips why.
But doesn't that kind of eliminate what you just praised about her, though? Because if she's just fake and will do anything for clout, then...
When I mean fake, I mean she's doing things for the wrong reasons. Yeah. That's what I mean. Some of the things she's saying is she's fake in that respect. I don't think she believes what she's saying. She's getting these facts, but that Joey says she's cherry picking them. She's picking things specifically, but in context, as Mark Lamont Hill broke down, she isn't seeing them in the full context. She's using them, and some of her information is completely inaccurate as well. But she's such a good package. She's so articulate. She's calm, and some of her things are based on facts as well. And she seems very open to talk with people. And I'll play another clip in a minute with Russell Brand when he again had good facts and stuff, but the way he comes across didn't really help his case.
Right.
I think Mark Lamont Hill did a great job because he came, for me, that's how I would approach it. He's got the information in his head. He can prove it with facts, and he calmly delivers it with her. She's the one she's the one on the rope, screaming and shouting, talking over him to get her point across. He'll just wait for it to finish and say, okay, let's unpack that. How many times in that interview did he say, okay, let's go back to it and let me unpack it? Yeah. And then most of the time she was like, well, yeah, I don't agree. Or, well, oh yeah, but you're this. But he brought the facts. So in my opinion, if you don't matter who won, I think he validated the points he was making, and his points were more reasonable. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying a lot of what she said was factual, to be honest with you, but I don't think she's genuine in a certain respect in how she's taking the information and forming it for her party or whatever. But listen, at the end of the day, I don't consider myself left or right. I consider myself to be kind of centrist. I like points from both. So some people could just say, you know what, you don't agree with her because you're fucking leftist or whatever, or, you know. And again, if you read the YouTube comments of that podcast, they think he got owned. Another word people like to use. That's the thing, what I mean.
Yeah. They like with the TI panel one. I mean, they like the whole the got you moment. I got you, and she certainly was in with that questioning America's, what was their greatest era for black people. There wasn't really an answer that she could actually give, really.
She probably didn't know. She didn't know.
She tried to, go on the coattails of Killer Mike when he said, 7 years after, and she goes, I was gonna say that, and he goes, no, you didn't, you fucking whatever. But I was on I'm kind of like a center left person, because I will admit and I'll accept that, you know what, she does bring some good points. She's not like, I think what is more dangerous about her, and, she has this pernicious effect, which is that there's a lot of facts, a lot of information that she does present, which can be true, which usually, it is true. And then you'd be like, oh shit, I haven't seen it that way. I think she's leading this thing called Blexit, which is their version of Brexit. Where she basically wants black people to leave the Democratic Party.
She's a good marketer.
She's a very good marketer. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So didn't get that got trashed, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
it didn't work for her.
Yeah. I think hence that's why she's trying to align herself with loads of celebrities, and be it Kanye West and whatnot.
Can I run through the other clips so we can just wrap this up? Because
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I was going on a tangent there, but yeah, play the clip.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't want to have more time than you guys to talk. It's just that I know we've been talking for nearly coming to 3 hours soon.
No, it's fine.
I'm gonna play the Russell Brand clip because this was funny as well. I mean, she's really made her. I mean, she's got a reputation now, and she's releasing a book as well, which I know they're gonna eat up in the Republican Party. But let me play this Russell Brand clip, which I think is another funny one.
Right. But do you not think this individualistic culture is in itself destroying the principles at a spiritual, human level of community? Do you not think that economic inequality creates in a human being a sense of injustice, of unfairness? Because people, do you know what, Candace? 90% of people that are rich, do you know why they're rich? They was born rich.
Okay, I can tell you something. I think that economic disparity creates that feeling, but a fundamental fundamental understanding in economics can help you
Do you know that
conquer
the most people that are rich are born rich? It's not like there's a tiny minority of people that are like you that come from a poor background and manage to overcome it. And this is what's a problem I've noticed with a lot of great people, is they sort of believe that their greatness is something that can be replicated, and I don't think it can.
I see. So I believe in the individual. You don't. That's
I
our
believe
fundamental differences.
that the primary goal of the individual should be to serve the community.
I do not believe that the primary goal of
What
an
do you think the
individual-
primary
I
goal
think
of the
that once an
individual should be?
individual
To
feels
serve
that they
the
have
individual.
served, so you're discounting the human spirit.
I'm not discounting it. I'm
is.
saying that's all
Let me
there
ask you-
is.
Let me ask you. No, there's not. In a humanity, think of animals in the wild. You don't even have to go to humanity. We can just think about animals in the wild. What is our human instinct, okay? Are you going to make sure that everyone on this block is fed before you feed yourself? Do you go around and say, hey, have you had breakfast this morning? Hey, have
Listen.
you had breakfast this morning? Hey, or are you going to make sure you're eating? And if you have an excess, of course you're going to do the human condition, and our incentives are going to be to want to help
Are you
people.
mental? Excess. The richest 15 people on the planet have got as much accumulative wealth as the poorest 5 billion.
But
that's an excess.
No.
That's an excess.
Okay. Excuse me. First and foremost, you're talking about literally 0.00001% of the world is what
Let's
you're
get
talking
'em.
about. Okay,
Let's
but
get 'em.
and what are they preaching? What do they want? Socialism, so that nobody else has the opportunity to become what they've become. They're the ones that are
They're
pushing
not preaching
forward.
socialism.
Yes,
That's not
they
real
are.
socialism. Well,
Are you kidding? George Soros doesn't want socialist policies. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, doesn't want socialist policies. They want to make sure that no one else has the opportunity to get to where they got.
Yeah, this woman's really making a name for herself. She really is making a name for herself. And I got one last clip that honestly, it kind of
you're like a biggest fan right now. Like a
Yeah,
Candace Owens fan.
No, I am trying to educate people because I think she's,
no, you're right. You're giving her.
she's going to be
a
someone
well-rounded-
notable
Yeah.
in the black community.
Nah, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, before you play your next clip, she's gonna crash and burn. Watch, but continue. You know,
It's so funny that you say this like I'm praising her when the next clip is probably the most damning clip about her. Like I was just about to say, after you hear the next clip, you probably will think she's the fakest person on planet Earth. After the next, because again, I'm trying to be fair. That's what I always try to do on this channel. And I was going to say a bit more after that, but since you brought this up, I'm going to play it right now. So this clip has got nearly 300,000 views. Again, I said this before we even started talking about her. Her actual beginning is almost as interesting as where she is now, because you will see how she's flipped. So this is called Who is Candace Owens?
I would be really funny though. I'm like randomly really funny.
That is Candace Owens, the world's very first funny conservative. Candace Owens was born in 1989 in Stamford, Connecticut. In high school, Owens was the target of several racist and threatening voicemails. Because one of the students leaving the messages was the son of then Stamford Mayor Daniel Malloy, the story attracted widespread attention. Her family settled with the school district for $37,500 thanks to the NAACP, an organization Owens now believes is one of the worst groups for black people.
The NAACP is one of the worst groups for black people.
After dropping out of college, Owens became CEO of Degree 180, a website which included, among other things, a blog focused on taking down then-candidate Donald Trump. Under Owens' leadership, the publication consistently bashed the former steak salesman at every turn.
Let's go eat some steak, okay?
One article was titled, "Does Donald Trump actually have a small penis?" The piece concluded that Donald Trump most likely has a penis the size of an infant. In a 2015 column, Owens wrote about the crazy antics of the Republican Tea Party, and that it was good news that they will eventually die off peacefully in their sleep, we hope. And then we can get right on with the obvious social change that needs to happen immediately.
I absolutely love this president. I think that what he did in this country was the most necessary thing by killing political correctness.
In 2016, Owens launched a Kickstarter to fund a new venture, Social Autopsy. It was a project that ended up changing Owens' political trajectory entirely.
It was like a project that was so from the heart. It was just like trying to rectify the wrongs that I felt were done for these kids that aggressed me, in high school. And instead, I end up in the middle of a firestorm.
Owens explained the project's intentions. We attach people's words to their places of employment, and anybody in the entire world can search for them. What we were doing is figuratively lifting the masks up so nobody can hide behind, Twitter handles or privatized profiles. Internet users were concerned that the site would encourage public doxing and could potentially publish private information about anyone at all. In the wake of the project launching, Owens got a call from Zoe Quinn, a target of the sexist online harassment campaign Gamergate. She allegedly told Owens she was worried this would lead to the doxing of children and tried to get her to not go through with it. Shortly after the conversation, Owens began receiving threatening emails. Simply because of the timing, Owens believes Quinn was behind the myriad emails from users with pro-Trump handles.
We're getting inundated with emails that say Bob at Trump45.com, and they're like, die, N-word, die. All of their addresses happen to be at Trump45 at Gmail, whatever it was. They would actually have weird porn handles, weird handles.
According to Owens, these emails definitely didn't come from actual Trump supporters. And because the web publication Breitbart supported her conspiracy theory by writing an article saying that these attacks all came from Zoe Quinn, a theory never backed by any evidence other than coincidental timing, Owens became a full-on conservative.
People that I thought were white nationalists, which was Breitbart, was the only publication that was just telling the truth about what's happening.
Social Autopsy never saw the light of day after Kickstarter suspended the campaign, but created along the way was a newly minted firebrand for the conservative right.
Oh, also, I think I might be a conservative.
Things were quickly falling into place for Owens. After shedding her liberal roots, Owens was hired by Turning Point USA, a conservative campus advocacy group that was facing accusations of racial bias. The group drafted Owens shortly after one of its former national field directors sent a text to a Turning Point employee that said, "I hate black people. F them all. I hate blacks. End of story." Owens' platform at Turning Point sprung her into the national spotlight. And when Kim Kardashian's husband tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks," Owens became an overnight sensation.
I find her to be I know her. I think she's a fine person, a fine young woman.
So after you hear that clip where you see where she came from, and it's hard to think to yourself that she is really not an opportunist, especially with the project she was running before, which was basically attacking Trump. So I foresee her, I'm not going to lie, because I actually thought Trump was in a definite landslide to get his next 4 years, but I'm not sure now. If he does, I really wouldn't be surprised if we see Candace Owens risen to his level, risen to his cabinet in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think what makes it just really difficult to take and process with her is exactly what you mentioned there before. Is that she's incredible. It feels like she's so disingenuous. With a lot of her points, her arguments in that way. I mean, here's a key thing. Here's her perspective. If we compare her to Mark Lamont Hill or Russell Brand or whatever, they're basically discussing, that there are real and very concerning issues with these several institutions that have denied, black people and people of color, LGBTQ communities for a long time, and we should be looking to address this stuff. But her perspective is no, there's something wrong with black people. There's something wrong with LGBTQ. We need to fix them, not the system. The system works absolutely fine, and that's why
exactly that's true. Yeah,
and that's why everyone really when she kind of mutates these facts into kind of her narrow thinking and her view, and she does it, and because she's such a niche person, I mean, look, you're not going to find many people like her. She's a very articulate, a very presentable, good-looking young black lady who has this kind of complete package that you can easily market, and she's doing something that no one else is doing, and then that's how she's getting the coin. So that's why I think a lot of people. Well, for me, I just find her rhetoric, her character, and the way she's making money, really, really distasteful.
That's what Dave Chappelle said, right?
Oh yeah, exactly that. I mean, he hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I think in that previous podcast with Mark Lamont Hill, he asked her about it because what do you think of that? But she was very complimentary about it because no, comedians, they need to get freedom of speech. I believe in everything he said is absolutely fine. I think he's amazing and whatnot. But I think she was possibly okay with it because, again, it put her back on the map.
That's her brand. That's her brand.
Yeah. It's a brand, exactly that. You know, she's not forgotten about. It was before it was him, then before that it was with Kanye West. I mean, look, and she tried to, you know, as we discussed before, when she tried to engineer that Blexit thing, and obviously just wasn't working, you know. But yeah, I can see why she's, you know, really hated. But I go back to my earlier comment. I find her, she's like, you know, the Black Katie Hopkins. You know, she's a trickster. She's doing this just so she can ascend.
I think Kate Hopkins is a bit more brazen than even her, though. I mean,
No,
Kate
I
Hopkins
agree.
is
No,
some
no,
wild
no.
shit.
I know. I know. I agree. Yeah, you know, when Kate
Yeah.
Hopkins says "final solution" or talks about immigrants as cockroaches, things like that. No, you're absolutely right. But
She's wild. Yeah.
she says some wild, crazy shit that, you know, has caused her to lose her verified handle and a lot of things that, you know, that's that, you know, got her to where she was. So, but I guess what's probably more dangerous is that, as you know, with Candace Owens, is that the rhetoric that she's using, a lot of people are just like justifying, you know, their discriminatory behaviors and you know, and you know, discussions and rhetorics and things like that. So that's why I'm just a bit like, oh gosh, you know, this woman is if she blows up more and more, she can be fucking dangerous.
I think that I just wish I believed her, because I don't have to agree with anyone. If I when I see her on the podcast, I just feel like she won a ticket. Like, you know, a YouTuber, when you're a YouTuber, they always say, if you want to be successful at YouTube, you need an angle, you need a concept that no one else is doing. And she finally found one that is working, and no one has the guts to do it. You know what I mean? She's definitely a only young Black woman going all in on right-winging, against trans, against LGBTQ, like, so not scared to debate anyone, any man. That's the kind of thing I admire, because it takes a bit of courage to do that. What I don't admire is it just knowing her history. It doesn't feel genuine to me. She switched sides because she's seen an opportunity. This is an opportunity. But when I see her talking, I'm like, I wish you believed this. I wish you actually believed the things you're arguing the Mark Lamont Hill on, because it would be interesting to learn from someone that truly believes what they think. I don't think she really does. That's why, to me, it's more disappointing than anything else, because people are losing their shit over, they want her dead. I'm like, I don't agree with her, but I don't need to like passively with vitriol, fuck her, fucking bitch, like Dave Chappelle. You know, fucking dada. I'm like, I don't need to get that mad about it. Just like Mark Lamont Hill, I just look at her like, you know, I don't agree with you, and you know what you're saying is inaccurate.
Like, I've got a lot of right wing conservative friends, and the thing is, when they, you know, when they basically, you know, convey their points and discuss it, you can see the belief and the passion, and you know, but more importantly, like, they're willing to listen and to compromise and just to do that. Now, there were times where she did, you know, I'll give her this, that she did listen to Mark Lamont, where she did concede one or two facts, but in general, I feel like she's just this person who someone said to her, I want you to be this, very presentable right-wing woman. Here's all the notes. Study it. I want you to be ready next week. And then she did it. She studied it. She became bang on. And I was just like, "But do you actually believe everything the espouses?" And I was like, "No, I just studied it all. Here we go." And I was just like, I don't know if this is her philosophy, but rather this is just your way to essentially just get ahead, you know. So that's, I mean, I think that's the thing that I struggle with. But when I speak to my, you know, they believe in, like, you know, the individual and, you know, not community and things like that, and people, you know, being more conservative in that, you know, well, how we base ourselves in society. So that's, you can see, but there's a willingness to compromise and understand from the other side. Well, not all the time, but you know, that you could probably see it. But with her, she's just looking for that gotcha moment, you know, which is very, you know, useful when you're on YouTube.
Stan?
Sorry. I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. I just ran. I'm so passionate about this. For my dislike for her, so I apologize.
Stan's just like, just shoot her and be done.
That's all right, man.
Put her down and be done, guys. Why are you talking about this, guys? Put her down and let it be done.
Well, you know, listen. Apart from the shoot her, put her down thing, you know, yeah. Honestly, I don't feel like she, you know, deserves that much credit for anything. You know, I don't see her as anything special. Apart, all she's done is basically she's a lapdog and an errand girl for, you know, certain groups such as you know,
Turning Point USA,
Prager,
and,
Turning Point USA, Prager University, all them things there.
Yeah.
You know, basically they were like, wow, we see potential here. They scouted her. Groom is not the right word to use, but basically, yeah, they're making.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to groom her. That's the thing. If she was groomed, I would probably even feel sorry for her. But she clearly switched sides. It's very clear she just, you know, jumped ship.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
She wants fame. To me, I think she, honestly, in my eyes, I think she's proud to. Some people just don't mind being notable, even if, as you know, Dave Chappelle, other people say it's at the sacrifice of your own culture or your own heritage or whatever. But I think that she likes the fact that she is an authority, the black conservative. You know, she's becoming the black conservative. You know what I mean? Not just the black conservative. You know.
Well, that's the thing. Her real testing would be if she will be willing to go on any show. Let's say, like Mark Lamont Hill and all these other guys and other conservatives, they're happy to go onto any show. So let's say Candace Owens going onto the Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club, yeah.
And Charlemagne.
She's had some run-ins with Charlemagne. She had some run-ins with him, actually. Yeah, she's had I saw an interview with her, actually, with him, actually. I did see a conversation. But I know he, in the recent podcast, he was just talking about how Dave Chappelle cemented her legacy.
Well, that
might have been a mistake.
That's the power of, you know, Dave Chappelle's stardom. If he mentions your name, then, you know, like people are gonna know, and it's an unfortunate. Well, it's about, you know, whether
it wasn't just a throwaway line.
Whether it's fame or infamy. That's what, I mean, you're gonna be. That's exactly what she wants, because a lot of people wouldn't have known who she was, but you know, everyone watched the special, and there would have been a hell of a lot of people who would said, "Who the fuck is this girl who's talking about?"
I got to ask you guys if you've got time for one more voicemail.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry, I forgot. It's related to this, but if you want to leave it, it's fine, because I know we're running late. Sorry, Stan, did you want to say anything else? Because you sound like you went a bit quiet there, or were you talked out?
No. As far as Owens is concerned, yeah, talked out.
Please leave another message at voiceofmail.com.